Hello everyone, welcome to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin, and in today's video lesson we shall be examining how to answer comprehension questions in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want you to know that as you subscribe to the channel, you will be encouraging and motivating me to upload more videos to help more people out there. So let's get started with the video of the moment. One thing that is uppermost in the mind of the examiner when setting the comprehension questions is to test your ability to read a comprehension passage, understand the facts contained in it, and answer the questions that follow. That's just the simple objective. So you need to master the art of reading the passage correctly, identifying the relevant ideas, and then being able to present them accurately as comprehension answers. Now we are going to look at the steps that you need to take in order to get it right. So let's get started with the steps to take. Now the first thing you need to do is to read the passage and understand it before attempting to answer the questions, because this is the major mistake that most candidates make. They rush into providing answers to the questions without having full understanding of what the passage is about, and also without having full understanding of what the examiner exactly wants them to do. So read the passage and understand it fully. And when you have done this, you read the questions as well and make sure you understand what you are asked to do. One thing is critical. You need to understand the various types of comprehension questions and how to approach each of them. Now let's look at them. The first type of comprehension question is called factual question. It is also known as direct question, and this is because it is a type of question that is based on the facts clearly stated in the passage. So when you come across this kind of question, you go back to the passage, you identify the particular portion of the passage that contains the information, and then you extract it. That is how to answer it. Let's take example from the Wassce past question, and that is West African Senior School Certificate Examination of November 1990. Question B, sub question I, asks, how did Hitler die? Obviously, the passage is about Adolf Hitler of Germany and how he eventually died. And then the second question, which is question II, asks why. These are factual or direct questions because in the passage it is clearly reported how Hitler died and why he died the way he died. Now, if you go back to the passage and you search for the answer, you will find that Hitler killed himself. So once you have discovered this, you present the answer precisely. Now, one thing about answering comprehension question is that it requires precision. So in answering question I, you write B, which is the main alphabet of the question. You write B, you write I, and you write he killed himself, or Hitler killed himself, or he committed suicide. Just put it precisely. Then the second question, which is why, You will also discover from the same passage that Hitler killed himself because he hated to surrender himself cowardly to the enemy. So you write the answer as follows: he hated to surrender himself cowardly to the enemy. So that is how to present answers to factual questions. Let's look at the next one. The next type of comprehension question we have to look at is inferential question. Another name for inferential question is interpretative question, and this is the type of question that requires interpretation. It means that the facts are not clearly or directly stated in the passage, so you need to figure out the answer based on the things implied in the passage. Let me give you one simple example of inferential question. I'll tell you a short story about Mary. When Mary was going back to her boarding school, her father gave her the sum of 5,000 naira and her mother gave her 3,000 naira. On her way to the school, she visited her uncle, who also gave her the sum of 2,000 naira. End of story. Now I ask you a question which passes for an inferential question. How much did Mary receive from her parents? It's simple to figure out, because from background knowledge, you know that although the word parents was not mentioned in the story, yet you know that Mary's father and mother are her parents. 5,000 naira from her father and 3,000 from her mother. That gives you the sum of 8,000 naira, and that is the answer. Then if I also ask you, how much did Mary receive from her relations? Now you know that you have to include the 8,000 from her parents and the 2,000 from her uncle, because they are all her relations, and the answer is 10,000 naira. So you can see that an inferential question is similar to an arithmetic or a mathematical question. You need to put 2 and 3 together to arrive at the answer. Now let's take an example from the West African School Certificate Examination of June 2000. The question G is as follows: why do you think the psychologist wore a knowing smile? Now, in the passage, it was not explicitly stated why the psychologist wore a knowing smile. The passage tells a story about a man who decided to divorce his wife. He got disappointed in his wife and wanted to divorce his wife, but he wanted to divorce his wife in the most painful manner. So he consulted a psychologist, and the psychologist told him that the best way to do that was to first of all show love to his wife, treat her very well, treat her like a queen, shower praises on her, buy her gifts, and treat her in a special way. And after the giving period, he should go and file the divorce papers and divorce the woman. The psychologist told him that that method would be most painful to her. So the man saw sense in that and went about showing his wife extraordinary love. Along the way, the man developed love for his wife and changed his mind. He was no longer going to divorce his wife. So when the psychologist called eventually at the end of the agreed period and asked the man, "Have you divorced your wife?" the man answered with a counter question: "Divorce? Not in a million years. I will never divorce her. I love her so much. So the psychologist wore a knowing smile. And from the story, you can figure out why the psychologist wore a knowing smile. It's simple. This was the intention of the psychologist. The advice he gave to the man was intended to change the man's mind about the divorce. So to answer the question, you simply write G and you state it point blank. The response the psychologist got from the man was exactly what he expected in the first place, and that gives you idea as to how to answer inferential questions. The next type of comprehension question is grammatical question. Now, this type of question is intended to test your knowledge of English grammar. Let's take an example from the past why question we earlier referred to. Then question G picks an expression from the passage and raises grammatical questions based on this expression. The expression is as follows: while he was dictating these words, and then we have 3 dots, and then 2 questions are asked on this expression. Question I: what is the grammatical name used to describe the above expression as used in the passage? And question II: what is the function of the expression in the sentence? Now, to answer this question, you first have to look at the entire sentence from which this expression was taken. And the entire sentence reads as follows: while he dictated these words, the Russians had encircled Berlin, and the chancellery was being bombarded by Russian guns at close range. Now, the way to answer this is to first look at the main clause. And then, when you look at the main clause, some natural questions will arise which will be answered by the underlined expression. So let's look at the main clause. The Russians had encircled Berlin. And so when you read the main clause, what comes to your mind is a question like when, how, why, and so on. But then on a closer look at the underlined expression, then you discover the kind of question that the underlined expression can answer. And that is the question when, while he dictated these words. Then you look at it. He's talking about time. At a particular point in time, he was dictating these words. The Russians had encircled Berlin. When? While he dictated these words. When you look at the connection, you discover that the underlying expression is an adverbial clause of time. It provides answer to the question when. When had the Russians encircled Berlin? According to the passage, it was at the particular time that Hitler dictated these words. The two things happen simultaneously. So that gives you a clear picture of the grammatical name of this expression, that it is an adverbial clause of time. Now, how to present it is simple. Write G, write I, and write adverbial clause of time. That's exactly the way to present your answer, because what is required in comprehension question is precision. You have to be precise in your answer. Then the second question, which is question II, what is the function of the expression in the sentence? Now, we know already that since we have identified the expression as an adverbial clause of time, we know that an adverb or an adverbial phrase or an adverbial clause usually modifies a verb. So now we have to look for the verb in the main clause, and what we find is had encircled. Had encircled in itself is a verb phrase. Encircled is the main verb. And so there are two ways you can present the answers. The first one, you simply write II and you write modifies the verb phrase had encircled. The second way of presenting it is to write modifies the verb encircled. Now, this is the way to present your answers to grammatical questions. Now, the next type of comprehension question is questions on figures of speech. You know, this kind of question is meant to test your knowledge of the figures of speech. Figures of speech are words and expressions that are meant to throw more light on what the writer is saying or writing. You know, figures of speech use images to describe in clearer terms or in more graphical way the kind of message the writer intends to convey. Now, if we look at the example from West African Senior School Certificate Examinations of June 1995. Now, question E gives us a short expression, the bombshell failed. And then two questions are asked based on this short expression. Question I, what figure of speech is the above expression? Question II, what is its meaning? Now, we have to look at the expression to figure out what figure of speech it is. And when you look at the expression, the bomb shall fail, you will understand that it is connotative in its meaning. It's not referring to a particular bomb. It refers to something else, you know. So we now discover that it is a figure of substitution, a situation where an expression is used to refer to something else or to stand for something else. Let me give you one example. If I say that Okonkwo is a lion in the battlefield, a lion in the battlefield is a metaphor. It's a metaphor for Okonkwo. Is giving us a picture, is painting a picture of the kind of person Okonkwo is. And that is what metaphors are all about. So the bombshell fell is a metaphor for a shocking piece of news. And in the passage, you will discover that that is exactly what it is referring to. So how do you present the answer? Write E, write I, and simply write metaphor. That is the precise answer. Then, as to the meaning required in question II, you simply write II and you write the very shocking news came. Just put it in your own words, but be precise. So that's how to answer questions on figures of speech. You need to familiarize yourself with various figures of speech. Apart from metaphors, you have simile, you have oxymoron, you have personification, you have rhetorical question, you have litotes, you have synecdoche, and so on and so forth. So you need to find out different figures of speech and what they mean and the specific examples that can stand for each figure of speech. Now, The next type of comprehension question we have to look at is vocabulary questions. Now, vocabulary questions are questions that ask you to find a word that means the same and can replace the word or phrase as used in the passage. This is what I call contextual synonyms. Synonyms are words nearest in meaning, but in this case, these synonyms are synonyms that can replace the words as used in the passage. Context is the very way in which a word is used in a sentence or in a passage. Now, let me give you an example. If we say that Musa is a man, the meaning of man in that sentence is an adult male human being. But if we rephrase the sentence and we say Musa was asked to man the engine room, then the meaning of man changes in that second sentence. And so, instead of an adult male human being, man in the second sentence simply means control or take charge of. Musa was asked to control the engine room, or Musa was asked to take charge of the engine room. So you can see that English words are like chameleons. Chameleons change their color from one physical environment to another. So English words also change their meaning from one linguistic environment to another. Now, once you figure out the exact contextual meaning of the word and you find the contextual synonym, then you present it as follows. Based on the example we have discussed, you write I and you write man equals control. Precision, as I said, is the hallmark of good presentation of comprehension answers. What you need to do to win maximum marks in your comprehension question is to observe accurate presentation of answers. Now, comprehension questions are unique. In comprehension, you are not asked to write an essay. You are given specific questions that require specific answers. So, state the answers precisely, depending on the type of question that you are attempting. Now, if you observed as we went through the various types of questions, you discover that each question required its own unique approach. Some of the questions required to be presented with a short sentence, some required to be presented with a phrase. In the grammatical question, we discovered that you needed to present the grammatical name in a simple phrase. You know, the adverbial clause of time. As simple as that. And when we came across the questions on figures of speech, we discovered that it requires a word, just a single word, metaphor. And then the second part required a short expression. So that is the precision we are talking about. And once you are precise in presenting your answers, it is possible for you to win all the marks. So that is how it has been in today's video lesson. We have been able to discuss with you the step-by-step procedure for answering comprehension questions in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the subscribe button below. As I said earlier, by subscribing to my YouTube channel, you achieve a win-win situation. First of all, you lose nothing when you subscribe. And secondly, by subscribing, you are truly encouraging and motivating me to upload more videos that will be useful to a lot of people out there. So it's a noble thing to do when you kindly subscribe to my channel. Now, Having said that, I would also like you to hit the notification bell so that when a new video is uploaded on this channel, you will be notified instantly. Like the video and share the video with your friends and relations. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments as to how I can improve the quality of my lectures, or if you have gained some benefits from the lecture and you want to give some comments of commendation, kindly leave your comments below. I want to thank you once again. Bye for now and remain blessed.